Whole map of Snaefellsnes. Don't ever use that pronunciation. We came in down here and 574. We were stopped in Ostapi and then Helnar. And I think this is where Bodelar's cave is right in here in Helnar. I camped up here somewhere. We'll just continue on up along the west side of this peninsula tip. I think we'll be going out to here and then around. Very dramatic cliffs. These are the Probang Cliffs. My pronunciation, primarily known for the birds that roost here, I suspect in the spring. It's always wonderful to be at these sites before the tourists get here. I've been to 2 sites now. This is my second already this morning, and there are no tourists yet. At these cliffs you can make out the white splotches where the birds' droppings are, and even here I think you can make out where there might be an individual bird's nest from which it drops. Interesting. It must be a fun place to see in the spring. Reminds me a great deal of the cliffs in Wales where I was hiking last year. Dramatic, beautiful. And there she sleeps. Be interesting to take a close-up picture as a geologist and spend some time tracking individual flows. It looks from here like you can see them, almost like they were roots for some kind of vehicle, like that one dead center and right towards the bottom. When you're in a place like Iceland, you have to wonder where that plane comes from and where it's going. That's generally to the north, probably somewhat northwest, so my guess is it's just on the polar circuit from somewhere in the United States or Canada. Down and walk along these sands and walk up the beach a ways. There's a maze up there, remains of one. It'd be interesting to see it. Don't know what its historical significance was. This gray stone is interesting because it seems much harder than most of the lava I've seen, so I don't know if it's lava based or not, but of course it's all these rolled rounded stones from being washed on the ocean floor and on the beaches. And presumably it comes from this gray stone here. I don't really know that to be the case. This looks more like shale and would seem to wear quickly and not in that same pattern. Saw this chunk of rusted metal lying over here and just curious what it might be. It used to be attached to wood, which may well have been a dock. A few more scraps here. Another story. Interesting, standing on this shore, listening to the waves crash. It's unlike a sandy shore. Here you actually hear the pebbles and rocks being rolled by the sea. See if you can hear it. From the middle of the 16th century up to the middle of the 19th century, Dritvik was the largest, most productive spring fishing station in Iceland. Often there were 40 to 60 boats based in Dritvik, and anything from 200 to 600 men worked here. This morning we've hiked down to the water, then up to the shore, top of the ridge, and then along this trail to Dritvik. Now we'll go down to Dritvik. So this was Dritvik. This pool did not contain fresh water, so unlike Djupalonssand that we just came from, it has two pools that do have fresh water. Water had to be brought along that difficult trail. Imagine 10 cabins here. Perhaps that's evidence of one over there, a couple of them over there. Yep. And probably more wherever it was somewhat flat. Not to mention huts that might have been made from wood. But what's interesting is, where did they keep 10 to 60 boats? Always fascinating when you're in a place like this. It's true along the coast of Wales and Scotland also. When it's so quiet and tranquil, very little evidence of current human activity except for that blazoned orange building. And try to imagine what it was like with 200 to 600 men here. Some would have been infrastructure people, cooks, that sort of thing, who were permanently here. So there would have been people milling about doing things, fishermen sleeping, fishermen waking up, taking some time off, and then going on out to sea. And I wonder how long ago it was that the mountain was so tumultuous with lava explosion and outpouring that the lava made it down here and perhaps farther on out to sea. The size of these two pinnacles here would suggest that it was a much higher level than we see today, and so perhaps farther out to sea. This is what makes these high cliffs dangerous along the edge. As you can see there, the turf has been worn out from underneath. So what looks to you to be a solid bank of earth on top of rock, in fact, that front foot or so is just simply a pile of turf waiting to break loose about a foot back from the edge and take you straight down the hill, which it's done before. There go the signs that say, beware, don't get too close. One blackbird over there on the left. I know what that is. Whatever this piece of metal was from, more chunks of it are littered all over this beach, all the way back up into here, which suggests mighty storms that destroyed and kicked that stuff up here. So those metal pieces we see are the remains of the British trawler, the Ipein GY7, wrecked in 13 March 1948. 19 men were saved. The waves were so huge they washed right over the boat. There were people strapped to these masts, and eventually when the tide washed out, they were able to get a line up there and haul the men in on some kind of a seat. What a frightening epitaph. Probably at one time, river or water coming off the mountain eroded all of this out all the way to the beach, and then over time, huge storms have filled it all back in again. Certainly that was after 1848.